Welcome to the Farzy Show, everybody. Better late than never. Once again, still trying to work out these kinks. I don't know what the heck's happening, but it is frustrating as all hell. Eagles get a fine victory. Well, maybe not fine victory, but a victory nonetheless. I'm going to start out with a couple of cliches. One, the old Mike Schmidt line. The joy of winning and the agony of reading about it the next day in the Philadelphia Inquirer. That's kind of how it feels about this game. But Jalen Hurts feels kind of the same way that you and I might feel about this win. Here's another one. Good teams find a way to win. And although this was not a great win by the Philadelphia Eagles, although this wasn't a secure win, a comforting win, a comfortable win by any means, they still won the game. And that's what good teams do. They find ways to win games. And that's what the Eagles did yesterday. Another one is a win is a win. There, we'll start off with three nice cliches about this game. But bottom line, we talk about this in every single sport. And it's a cliche because it is true. And this is one that I went to yesterday on the post-game show over there on the Jacob Media YouTube channel when I was filling in for Mike Missinelli, who's under the weather. He'll be back next week. But the one thing that rang true in my mind is simple. We talk about it in every sport. Good teams find a way to win a game. And yesterday, the Eagles found ways to win games. We'll get into our top five as far as our top five performances from the rest of today's game. We'll also talk about some of the things that could have gone a lot better for the Philadelphia Eagles. We have Nick Sirianni after the game. We also have Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts, I thought, summed up a lot of people's emotions about this game. Because, yes, you won it, but you didn't win it by as much as you thought you would. The Eagles didn't cover. They were 5.5-point favorites going into yesterday's game. So if you bet the Eagles to cover, they unfortunately did not do that. There's some big question marks I have surrounding this game, most notably the run game, which was there for you in the fourth quarter. But for whatever reason, you chose not to use it throughout the game. And I thought, as you had offensive linemen going down, as you had a backup left tackle who had never started at left tackle before in the NFL, and Jack Driscoll, I thought maybe you might help out your offensive line by running the ball a little bit more. Letting them get to their, thud and done, basically, where you wouldn't have to allow them to or ask them to hold pass blocks for Jalen Hurts in the pocket. The offensive scheme seemed odd to me. I understand what the game plan was going into the game. I just don't understand why it didn't adjust till late in the fourth quarter when you absolutely needed it to adjust. I give him that. All right, now it needs to happen, so let's do it. But you could have been a little bit more comfortable about this win as the game went on, and that just wasn't the case yesterday. Now, the last word I would use to describe this game was comfortable. There were edge-of-your-seat moments. Anytime a game comes down to a quarterback sliding a yard short of a first down and then spiking the football and then having to kick the 43-yard field goal to which they missed, that's not a comfortable win. It's not a comfortable win, even a little bit. Anytime you go into halftime after you're up 14-0, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's 14-10. And yes, you did have a nice little stand there before the end of the half to make sure it wasn't a tie football game going into the half. But even though you needed that stand, I'm going to go ahead and say again that you did not really feel comfortable about this Eagles win. But hey, let me say it again. A win is a win. A win is a win. There you are. Let's get into our top five before we get into these post-game comments or anything like that. But yesterday, I'm watching this game unfold, and the number one guy I want to bring up is Marcus Epps. Who? Yeah, Marcus Epps. Remember that strong safety position that we're having a lot of question marks about going into the season? And still, we got question marks about it. CD News came up with an interception yesterday. That was nice to see. But there's also one of the leading tacklers on the team, leading tackler actually yesterday. There's definitely a lot of question marks we still have about the safety position in general. But yesterday, I felt that Marcus Epps played his best game as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel that yesterday was a good example for why the Eagles had confidence in Marcus Epps being a starting safety going into the season. Yesterday, I feel like he showed that. He was one of the top players in tackles yesterday. Yes, there are a lot of instances where members of your secondary had to come up and make plays simply because you were playing off the ball so far. So you had to, unfortunately, make plays downfield, and there were your safeties to make the play, and Marcus Epps was one of those guys. He was making them downfield. He was making them at the line of scrimmage. He had his hat on a lot of different plays yesterday. And no better example of that was right before the end of the first half when you had James Conner, I believe it was, just about 5 yards from the end zone, had momentum, had a couple of tacklers on him already, and Marcus Epps stepped up and made sure momentum stopped at the 3-yard line to make sure they did not get that touchdown before the half. Marcus Epps, definitely for me, he gets a game ball. Another game ball I'd give would go to our man Hassan Reddick. Coming into this game, of course, defensive player of the week in the NFC, had been playing great, forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles, getting sacks, getting his hand in on every play with the quarterback. It seemed like he was always putting the quarterback under pressure. Yesterday, that pressure wasn't there all that much, but when it was Hassan Reddick creating that pressure. And when the Arizona Cardinals were going on in this game and converting on third down and converting on fourth down and extending drives and having a 12-play, 90-yard drive in that second half. And when you finally got them to a 3rd and 11 and thought to yourself in that fourth quarter, it's time to get them off the football field, Hassan Reddick came off the edge and brought down Kyler Murray and got the Eagles and the Arizona Cardinals offense off the field to give the ball back to your offense, back to Jalen Hurts, who then engineered a fine 17-play drive to get what would be the game-winning field goal. Did Hassan Reddick get out with a little face mask there? Did he get out with hitting the head? Did he get away with hitting the head of Kyler Murray? Oh, yeah, he did. But I don't care. It was what they needed in the exact moment. And the referee's like, you hit him in the face mask? No, I didn't say nothing. Give the ball back to the Eagles on offense, and they were able to get the game-winning field goal after that. But Hassan Reddick gave the pressure when the pressure was needed. There was another play earlier in the game. I want to say that was the second quarter where Hassan Reddick got in the backfield and actually got a hit on Kyler Murray. He rushed his throw. He ended up overthrowing Hollywood Brown, who had himself a hell of a game yesterday. Awful drop at the end of that second half. Woo! Eagles dodged a bullet on that one. It wasn't quite Agnew getting thrown, overthrown by Trevor Lawrence last week. It wasn't quite that extent, but if Marquise Brown reels that ball in, they might score a touchdown on that particular drive instead of just getting field goal before the half. But Hassan Reddick definitely gets a game ball for me for his performance yesterday. Dallas Goedert, I really struggled with this, man. Because although Dallas Goedert had a great numbers game for the Eagles, no doubt about that. Can't argue with the box score. I always say numbers don't lie, but sometimes they deceive. Yeah, yesterday is not one of those moments. Yesterday is a moment where you can look at 8 catches, 95 yards on 9 targets, and as long as reception was 31 yards, yes, Dallas Goedert absolutely deserves a game ball from yesterday. But really, his best play, yeah, sure, plenty of catches in that game for Dallas Goedert. But at the first touchdown of the game, he should have been credited with a carry. Because although they run the quarterback sneak with Jalen Hurts up the middle, Dallas Goedert's right there to basically carry his quarterback into the end zone for the touchdown. It was like 2 players were scoring a touchdown on this one play. And if there was ever a carry to give it to a tight end for carrying his quarterback, it should have been Dallas Goedert on that particular play. Dallas Goedert, with his hands, with blocking, and with carrying his quarterback in the end zone for the first touchdown of the game, he definitely gets a game ball after yesterday's performance. And then probably for the Eagles in this particular play, the 3rd and 12 in the fourth quarter where they absolutely had to convert. And after the game, you find out that Jalen Hurts stepped up to the line of scrimmage, saw what the defense was giving him, saw that they had a blitz coming, checked to a play where you get the ball out faster, and the next thing you know, he converts the 3rd and 12 on a crisply thrown ball to Dallas Goedert for the first down. That's a big part of the maturation you wanted to see, the improvement you wanted to see from Jalen Hurts over the offseason into this season. And that's why I look at Jalen Hurts at number 2 on this list. Dallas Goedert at number 3, Jalen Hurts at number 2. No, how could he not be number 1? Well, I'll tell you why he can't be number 1, but I'll tell you why he's number 2. I'll tell you why he's that high on the list. It's another game where they don't win this game without Jalen Hurts. I didn't like the game plan. I didn't think of Jalen Hurts throwing bubble screens every 20 seconds was all Jalen Hurts checking down to bubble screens every 20 seconds. I thought that was more so along the lines of the game plan, and I did not like the game plan going this way. Look, you saw early on that you could exploit some things in the passing game. You threw the ball downfield a couple times to A.J. Brown, and then he really didn't see the ball till the fourth quarter. After the second quarter, it was like A.J. Brown just disappeared. And any semblance of a vertical game from the Eagles taking a shot downfield just disappeared. I will tell you this. If you ever get an opportunity to watch a game with Seth Joyner, if you ever get an opportunity to go to, I don't know, some charity auction, and it's like you can pay money, and if you win the charity item. The item is watch a game with Seth Joyner. You will come out with a master's class in rushing the quarterback. And believe it or not, for a guy who's a linebacker in the Eagles Hall of Fame as a linebacker, he'll break down that passing offense as well. And one of the things that was just driving me crazy, and this is what Jalen Hurts was given, and this was the game plan, and this is the way they chose to execute the game plan. But going into this game, there's no doubt about it. They just wanted to make sure they were exploiting the tiny secondary that is the Arizona Cardinals. And they did that in the first quarter at least, and then it just went away. And after, I don't know, maybe the fifth bubble screen, this is what Seth was getting into. Maybe you pump fake that out to Devontae Smith in the bubble screen, in the flat. Maybe you pump fake, a little fake throw, right? Fake it. And then you bomb it downfield to Quez Watkins. Maybe you give an opportunity to do that. Maybe you try to take the top off the defense, as we've seen the Eagles do this season. Where's that play? Instead, the plays downfield were either the check down that Jalen Hurts had in the conversion on the 3rd and 12 to Dallas Goedert, or it was rolling out of the pocket for Jalen Hurts trying to buy time, hit a guy downfield, whether it be A.J. Brown, whether it be Devontae Smith, whoever it might be, whoever is able to find open downfield. Those were the only times that you tried to stretch the field, especially in the second half. But after you continuously run these bubble screens to your wide receivers or to your tight end, it's like, all right, I think they see it coming. And that's where they were able to stuff so many at the line of scrimmage, or tackle for loss, or a 2-yard gain, whatever it might be. That was something I was just done with seeing. Where's the opportunity to stretch the field? Overall, you look at 26 for 36 for 239 yards, no touchdowns thrown. He was brought down twice. He had a quarterback rating of 52.5, a passer rating of 89.9. Not a terrible game by Jalen Hurts, not his best of the season by far, but a lot of it, I think, comes down to game plan before it comes down to what Jalen Hurts was calling at the line of scrimmage or what he was checking out of at the line of scrimmage. So Jalen Hurts, look, he was clutch when it needed to be clutch. You engineered a 16-play drive and a 17-play drive all in the same game. And the 17-play drive is ultimately what ended up winning the game for you. And after the game, I'm telling you, it's hard to find an athlete throughout Philadelphia's history whose mindset I've appreciated and respected more than Jalen Hurts. There's been plenty of guys whose mindset I've been admired and all that stuff throughout every sport in Philadelphia. But Jalen Hurts is right there. As far as his approach, as far as understanding what just happened and not, it's a gross term, but, not peeing on our shoes and telling us it's raining. Like, he is honest with you every single step of the way. He's not BSing us. He's holding the team accountable. And so many times we just ask people, hey, hold yourself accountable. Don't BS us. Don't tell us it's something that we know it's not. That's one of the things that always rubs us the wrong way about Andy Reid. That's one of the things that rubs us the wrong way about any coach that wasn't honest with us or any player that, thinks it looks at every game with rose-colored glasses. Jalen Hurts certainly doesn't do that. And we'll get to his post-game comments, but that's also why he's number 2 on the list. Number 1, baby. Number 1. Cameron Dicker, the kicker. This guy's not a football. I didn't even talk about this last week. Cameron Dicker he's from Texas. He's from a rival high school of Nick Foles. And when he was asked about Nick Foles in the Eagles locker room leading up to this game, Cameron Dicker was like, yeah, I heard about that he was like from my area and stuff, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. I'm sorry, what was that? You didn't pay too much attention to a guy that went to a rival high school as you. He was from the same area as you in Texas. And he was like, oh, that happened. He won the MVP of the Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl. He's had a just crazy NFL career. And him winning a Super Bowl was like, oh, that happened. Like, what? I'm sorry, huh? No excitement there? You a football fan? Not really. Like, literally. He's not really a big football fan. He's a big football fan. He loves the EPL. I forget his favorite EPL team. I forget his soccer team, whatever. But he's just like not a football fan. And you know what? Good for him for at least being honest. But it's like, well, this guy's not even an NFL fan. Well, literally a guy that's just happy to be here. And if you're just going to be happy to be here, We're going to be happy to have you as long as you're making kicks, especially game-winning field goals. Goes 2 for 2 in his debut with the Eagles, filling in for Jake Elliott, and wins the game for the Eagles. The Eagles win this football game thanks to a guy that nobody ever heard of a week ago, Cameron Dicker, if that's your real name. Jake Elliott was hoping to be able to play in this game. A lot of people were like, Jake Elliott's fine, he'll play. No, he wasn't playing, not playing. And Cameron Dicker, the kicker, comes up and wins a game for you. He gets the game ball. Good for you. Honorable mention, and this was just fantastic. Eagles fans took over that stadium. Was talking to some people that were down there, or over there in Arizona, I should say. And it was like, it feels like a home game. We can do anything we want. It feels like we can take over the stadium. It feels like it feels like you're walking around South Philly. And Arizona's a fun little destination. You get an opportunity to go out there. So treat yourself every once in a while, folks. That would be a good opportunity to treat yourself. Go out to Westgate. Go to a place called Hot and Juicy. It's like a seafood place in the middle of the desert. And it's good. Oh, trust me. Oh, it's delicious. Have a beer called Kilt Lifter. Yeah, it's delicious. But yeah, Eagles fans took over that stadium yesterday, and it felt like the first real big stadium takeover that Eagles fans had this season. So that was awesome. Let's get into this game plan a little bit here. Speaking of John McMullen, over there on the Jacob Media channel, one thing I found interesting was going into this game, the Eagles felt like they could exploit the secondary of the Arizona Cardinals. They saw some things they could really take advantage of. And I think the average height of guys over there was like 5'10", 5'11". Budda Baker, I have all the respect in the world for Budda Baker. Hell of a safety, always a threat, plays down in the box, plays that linebacker position, and then travels back to be the deepest man on the field, can be aggressive, can go after the quarterback, can do it all. But the way they played against this, I felt like they gave way too much respect to this football game with those bubble screens to a guy like Budda Baker. And I also felt like they gave way too much respect to Kyler Murray from the defensive side of things. Those were two things in the game plan that I understood you had to respect. But at the same time, it's like these guys aren't the greatest ever. These guys aren't going to take over a game. Kyler Murray can. I mean, he's a quarterback and he's very talented. But I didn't feel like it was Kyler Murray's game to lose at any point. I knew that he was going to need to rely on some of his weapons. Moore was obviously coming off of injury. A.J. Green certainly isn't what he used to be. You still have DeAndre Hopkins under suspension. There's a lot of things going on with that offense. James Conner hasn't been what he's usually been so far this season, although he had a couple of big runs yesterday against the Eagles. They're relying on Benjamin as like their number one running back at times throughout this game. It was wild the way this game was working out. But I felt like they gave way too much respect to Budda Baker, and I felt like they gave way too much respect to Kyler Murray. You did not see the rushes that you were used to seeing from this Eagles team. And when you did have the one-on-one battles that you were supposed to win going into this game, and we talked about how experienced this offensive line is. We've talked about guys like Justin Pugh, for instance, who is a former Giant, very familiar with guys like Fletcher Cox. He understands what Fletcher Cox brings to the table. He has played against him enough when the Giants and Eagles would play each other for all those years. Of course, it's nothing new. Well, Henderson's another guy in this game that was a former Giant, is very familiar with the Eagles' defensive line. So these guys knew what the Eagles were bringing to the table in a lot of instances, but they weren't winning their one-on-one battles. You would have to bring a guy like Hassan Reddick off the edge and make sure you were looping him around a guy like Brandon Graham, for instance, or you were looping him around like a guy like Josh Sweat. I was waiting for TJ Edwards to come up the middle. I was waiting for Kazir White, who was a quarterback spy in the early goings of the game, to at least blitz once or twice and see if you could get something out of Kyler Murray to force him into a mistake. You forced him into two mistakes. One, there was an overthrow when Hassan Reddick had a great pressure on him. The other was a pressure when he threw the ball down the middle of the field, deep down the field, and C.D. Deuce was able to come across and pick that ball off. And really, that was double coverage because you had Darius Slay up there as well. But I thought there were certain instances where you were respecting a guy like Kyler Murray too much, and then you were also respecting a guy like Budda Baker too much by trying to keep the ball away from him, by not throwing it down the field, throwing the opposite side of the football field that he was on, or trying to block him out of a play with those bubble screens. And it was a little too much of what you thought was going to be good. And as your mom told you when you're eating way too much candy, or maybe too many apples, I don't know, too much of a good thing can be bad. And yes, bubble screens, yes, sometimes they work. Sometimes they're great. The Eagles have done a great job with a guy like Dallas Goedert. They've done a great job with guys like Devontae Smith. They had a couple of big gains on it yesterday, which was great. But too much of that good thing can be very bad. And it started to get very bad as that game went on because it just became very, like Vance Joseph was just like, probably another bubble screen coming up. Everyone stay home. If you got a guy that's just coming out as a wide receiver trying to set a block on you, just know there's going to be a guy with a ball right behind him. Blow that up. Shed that block. Get to the ball carrier. The other thing that was a little perturbed about was if you wanted to have these quick throws, if you felt like they were going to have Jalen Hurts under pressure, and it certainly looked like Jalen Hurts was under pressure a lot in this game. Just an idea. Maybe, just maybe, hand the ball to your running back. I don't want to be crazy here, but Miles Sanders was coming off a career day. You had backup offensive linemen in for a big portion of this game. Jason Kelce missed some time in this game. Landon Dickerson missed some time in this game. Obviously, Jordan Mailata's out didn't even play in this game. You had Jack Driscoll in. Suopeta came into this game again for a while. You had some issues. It's always easier to have some backup offensive linemen run block for you. It means they don't have to hold their block. It means they can just make the hit and be done with it. They can get into a little bit of a rhythm. You establish that rhythm. And what happened in that second half? What happened in that fourth quarter? When you really needed your offense to step up. And look, hey, yeah, sure, you needed your offense to step up in your final possession of the game in a tie football game. No kidding, you needed your offense. But maybe you don't get to that point if you relied on the run just a tad more than you did throughout this game. Maybe giving the ball to Miles Sanders a little bit earlier in the game is a good thing. Maybe letting the guy that had 130-plus yards and 2 touchdowns last week, maybe you let him continue to eat. Maybe you don't give him 30 carries again. He finished yesterday, by the way, Miles Sanders, with 15 carries, which is just about on par for him. Your quarterback also had 15 carries. Now, I'm not of the school so much. Jalen Hurts needs to stop running the football. No, because he's pretty damn good at running the football. But when you talk about called run plays, I'm not talking about RPOs. I know some people get all crazy. Well, he had RPOs and he chose to throw it. Okay, or keep it. Okay. Let's get rid of the P part of the RPO and just run. Let's get rid of the option part of it and just run the football. This way, I know my offensive linemen are going to be most comfortable. I know my quarterback's not going to get hit. And I know I'm going to take the pressure off my quarterback because all he's got to do is turn around and hand the football to Miles Sanders. But that would require the Eagles trusting Miles Sanders two weeks in a row, which doesn't happen. So that was definitely something that frustrated me about this game. And I can understand, and I'll go back to the defensive side of things here. I can understand that the Eagles in a game are going to how do I say this? I understand that in week 1, you could have some tackling issues. And they did. 14 missed tackles against the Lions in week 1. I can understand a team doesn't practice tackling and have issues tackling. Week 5, all of a sudden you start having more issues tackling. I don't know how many tackles they missed in this particular game, but it felt like a lot. And the biggest example, good Lord, the biggest example to me was TJ Edwards is there in the middle of the field, and he's shaded over to Marquise Brown. And Kyler Murray hits Marquise Brown with a perfect pass. And TJ Edwards gets turned around on the play and can't make the tackle on Marquise Brown, and Marquise Brown breaks it open for like 25 yards. You can't ask your linebacker to cover that play. Like, that's not happening. As much as I love TJ Edwards, as much as I think he's improved tremendously from the beginning of last year to right now, it ain't good, man. It ain't good. That's a play you can't ask your linebacker to make. And how do you ask your linebacker to make that play? Well, you play 10 yards off the line of scrimmage again, because God forbid you jam your guys at the line of scrimmage and you try to make a play as a defensive back as opposed to waiting for the mistake or forcing the mistake. And this game overall, defensively for me, even though they only allowed 17 points, this game for me defensively felt like a regression. And I'm not expecting Jonathan Gannon to send blitz after blitz after blitz to Kyler Murray. But I am expecting maybe occasionally you jam their wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. Maybe you do send a 6-man in the rush to try to force Kyler Murray into a mistake. Maybe you do that a little bit more often. But it felt like the Eagles got dismayed by the way that they weren't able to run the football in the first half. And it certainly felt like the Eagles got dismayed when they weren't able to get home on blitzes on Kyler Murray in the rare occasion that they actually did blitz. So this game overall, yes, a victory. But when it comes to the way you've seen this team play, it felt like this game was a regression back to the fourth quarter of week 1 against the Detroit Lions. You weren't making your tackles. You weren't using your running game. You weren't using your running back until later in the game. And you certainly weren't being aggressive anymore. And that, for me, felt like a regression. Bottom line is, good teams find ways to win football games, and that's exactly what the Eagles did yesterday. Now, we're going to hear from Jalen Hurts, who addressed the media, of course, after the game. We're going to hear from Nick Sirianni, who addressed the media after the game, as you would assume. And the message seems to be we got away with one. Now, I don't know if that's the message from Jalen Hurts. I don't know if that's the message from Nick Sirianni. I don't think they said that in the locker room. They had some locker room footage out there the Eagles put out there on their Twitter account, and guys were dancing and having fun, and you should. Look, if I'm a player, any win, regardless of who it's against, at what point in the season, of whether or not it was a sloppy win or not, any win, if I'm a player or I'm a coach, any win is a good win. Because it's hard to win in the NFL. And if I'm in the NFL, I'm celebrating every win that comes my way. And I ain't taking anything for granted. I talked to Lane Johnson after the game last night. Lane Johnson was not euphoric. He didn't make it seem like the music was bumping in the other room. He didn't make it seem like everyone in that locker room was feeling great about themselves. He felt like he gave the impression that, yes, there's a lot of work to be done when they watch the film. When the eye in the sky, when they watch that film, will tell all when it comes to how this team performed. Yes, they won. Yes, good teams find a way to win. But there's still a lot to correct. Let me tell you about Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there in Philadelphia. When Steven, you know what he likes to say? Steven likes to say he's in the love business. And for over 40 years, Steven has been helping people get engaged and fall in love with the perfect gift. And now he's doing it at the perfect price. Because other jewelers like to mark things way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks just in front of you. But guess what? At Steven Singer Jewelers, you don't have to worry about negotiating. You don't have to worry about haggling. All you got to worry about is what beautiful piece of diamond jewelry you want to buy. Because a real jewelry expert will walk you through everything at Steven Singer Jewelers. And you won't have to worry about whether or not the person next to you is paying less than you. Ooh, they get some kind of deal? No, they got the same deal you got. They got the perfect price. Every day, Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, perfect price online at IHateStevenSinger.com. All right. There's a couple of different things I want to get to here in our locker room report. And mainly it comes down to Jalen Hurts. Before the season, and I've gone back to this a lot, and I'll continue to do this throughout the season because I hope the Eagles keep this same type of mindset. Before the season, Jason Kelce came out and talked about comfort. And for those that watch the show every day, you guys know that or listen to the show on the podcast. You guys know I've talked about this a lot. Jason Kelce talked about how you can't be comfortable in this business. You can't be comfortable in the NFL. You have to look at every win as if it's a loss. You have to critique you enjoy the win when it happens, i.e. last night. But then on Monday, when you sit there and you go over the film, you got to look at that film as if it's a loss, regardless if it's a win. And when I heard Jonathan Gannon talk after week 1 about the way they played in the fourth quarter, he just said it wasn't good enough. Good. He's acknowledging, without even being asked about how he closed out the game, he's acknowledging that they closed out the game by taking their foot off the gas. By listening to Jalen Hurts and what I'm about to play for you, he was asked about this win and what this win meant to the team and what this win meant to him. And he clearly is happy they won, but what's going to stick with him is the fact that they didn't play the perfect game. Far from it, in fact. Here's Jalen Hurts after the game. Tell me you don't love this mindset. Jalen Hurts on the game yesterday.
Everyone is not easy. I personally have mixed emotions about the game itself. But we found a way. What are those mixed emotions? As a competitor, when you have the ball in your hands at the end of the game, you want to take advantage of it and not give the opposition the opportunity to win the game, tie the game, whatever it is. And I don't look at anybody else but myself. I look in the mirror and I look at myself and I ask myself, what could I have done more to not put the team in this position towards the end of the game? How could I have gotten us in the end zone? I know we had different things that come throughout the game, but that's what it is. You know, what could I have done more to put us in a better position? You know, I feel like in many ways, you know, I feel like I let them down, you know, just with opportunities we didn't take advantage of, and, you know, the ball touching my hands every play. You know, those are the mixed emotions I have.
I mean, tell me that that's not the way you want your quarterback to think. Tell me that's not the way that you want your quarterback to approach a game like this. And he's talking about the third down at the goal line where he wasn't able to convert that, unfortunately, to a touchdown, and they had to settle for that field goal. That's what's sticking with him. And I'm sure a number of other things are sticking with him too. But tell me that's not the perfect mindset you want to have. You know, who cares? We won. I care. Because, and this is the most difficult thing, and this is where a lot of people in my position get, oh, you're too negative. For me, it's never just about winning that game and how you played that game. Yes, you won the game. No one's arguing. No one's making a stupid argument that you didn't somehow. But when it comes to a game like we saw yesterday, it's not just about beating the Arizona Cardinals, who had a banged-up receiving core or absent receiving core. It's about, can you play that way and still beat a team like the Dallas Cowboys, for instance? Can you play like that and still beat a team like the New York Giants, who just played a hell of a game in London against the Green Bay Packers? Can you play like that against the Dallas Cowboy defense? Can you play like that against... I don't think you can play like that and win. You can play like that against the Arizona Cardinals and win. Eagles won a tough road game yesterday. They certainly did. But can they play that same way, whether at home or on the road, and expect to beat anybody that's a better team? Like the NFC East, by the way, was supposed to be terrible. NFC East is pretty damn good. Everyone else going into last week was like going into Sunday, 2-2. No, it's a three-way tie in the AFC North. Everyone's 2-2. Eagles, let's see, 5-0, only undefeated team in the NFL. Cowboys, of course, without their starting franchise quarterback, have somehow been 4-0 without him, and they're 4-1 on the season. And then the Giants, 4-1. What the hell, Brian Dable? What have you done to that team? Saquon Barkley, what the hell, man? All of a sudden running like a Barry Sanders. It's not just about winning the game that you play. It's about making sure you play as mistake-free football as possible, so that when you do play those upper echelon teams, you don't make those same mistakes. And that's where people get into trouble. Oh, they won the game. Yeah, they did. But what scares me is that they could play like this in a game. They play like this in a game against this other team. They're not going to win that game. That's the way the Eagles have to look at it. That's the way a lot of fans will still look at it. Not every fan was waving pom-poms after the game and saying, hey, they won. Yes, they did. And I'm happy they won. And good teams like the Eagles are, they're a good team. They found a way to win. Cliche, cliche, cliche. But bottom line is, it's not just about beating the Arizona Cardinals. It's about whether or not they could play that way again and be a better team. That's the way you have to look at it. And that's the way the Eagles have to look at it. And that's the way, according to Jalen Hurts, according to Jason Kelsey, according to Lane Johnson, that's the way they are going to look at it. On a lighter note, Nick Sirianni came out screaming yesterday. And Nick Sirianni was just like, oh, what a great time. What a great time to be an Eagles fan. What a great time to be a Philadelphia. What a great time to be a sports fan in this city. You got the Phillies, right? The Phillies are great. And the Phillies are great. How fun was it to watch the Mets? I have a special segment at the end of the show dedicated to the New York Mets. Don't you worry. At the end of the show, we'll get to it. But Nick Sirianni talked after the game about what has made this team have so much success. What has made this team 5-0? What would help this team improve to 5-0 in yesterday's game? And he talked about basically it being the camaraderie of this team.
You know, either teams throughout the year are going to come together or they're going to go apart. There's really no in between, right? And this team is continuing to come together because they love each other, right? They you know, like what's happened with Cam. Like you asked me with Cam, they put their arms around him and welcomed him and made a big play when we needed it. And that's what's special about this team. We just got to keep it going.
Dicker the kicker, putting their arms around Dicker. There you go. And everyone's a better teammate for it. You put your arms around the offensive linemen that were coming in left and right for 2 weeks in a row, by the way, as the offensive line was dropping like flies. And tell me your heart wasn't in your throat when you heard when you saw Jason Kelce down on the turf. Good Lord. Jason Kelce's down there. He's you got that pain expression on his face. You don't see that from Jason Kelce. He walks off the field. He's leaving the game. We're dead. That's what it felt like. And then he comes out, tweaked his ankle a little bit, rolled his ankle a little bit. Cam Jurgens got his first real NFL action. You'll love to see it. And then finally, one last thing I want to get to you guys from our post-game locker room report, Nick Sirianni, talking about the final drive. Now, again, I mentioned it, 17 plays, 70-yard drive capped off by a Cameron Dicker 23-yard field goal that gave the Eagles the 20-17 victory. This is where he talks a little bit about running the football more and how they got away from it in the first half. And then when they needed it, they went back to it. Yes, me. I think they needed it throughout the game. Here's Nick Sirianni on that drive and the offensive line.
Maybe the run game wasn't going the way we wanted it to early. Credit to them. I think Coach Joseph's a really good defensive coordinator, and I think they got some really good pieces over there as defensive guys. And Jason Kelce fought through bump and we'll let you know what it is here shortly, but he fought through it. Landon Dickerson fought through it. And we knew that this was going to be a physical game. We knew we had a really physical team. We knew our identity is to be physical. And when we needed to the most, we were. And, I know we didn't punch it in. They made a good play there on third down. But we just, our job as coaches is to lean on our best players. And we jumped on our offensive line's back and we rode them down the field. It was really pretty special. And that was, Shane did a great job of calling it. Our offensive line and backs and tight ends did a great job of blocking it up and executing it. Jalen got us into getting it in and out of some plays. I'm really happy for those guys because they're warriors. That offensive line's warriors. Lane is, Isaac is, all those guys. Jack Driscoll, man, I can't say enough about him. That he just keeps stepping into scenarios, right? There's naturally going to be bumps and bruises along the way on the offensive line. It's just so physical in there. And Jack Driscoll just continues to come in and play big moments. I'm so happy Jack Driscoll's on this football team.
There's one play, and I'm excited about. Hey, look, Jack Driscoll, I think is going to have a nice long NFL career, and I think he's a very good offensive lineman. And it's asking a lot of him to be a starting left tackle all of a sudden, especially when a guy like J.J. Watt is just floating out there. And J.J. Watt still looked good yesterday, but there's one particular play that there's just no excuse, and that play was right before the half. J.J. Watt goes untouched. Nobody was blocking J.J. Watt, and he went after Jalen Hurts and brought him down. And that is bad. You shouldn't allow that. And Jalen Hurts just got rid of the football. It wasn't a sack. It was a quarterback hurry. It was a quarterback hit. But that can't happen. And Jack Driscoll was standing there and took the inside guy, as you're supposed to do. But you noticed after that play, there was a lot more Dallas Goedert, Craig Calcaterra, Jack Stahl lined up on that side of the football. Craig Calcaterra, lined up on that side of the football to make sure that J.J. Watt wasn't getting in the backfield again. Because I think Nick Sirianni Shane Steichen saw that and went, they can't do that. Nope. Can't allow that one. So that was Nick Sirianni on that one. But yeah, you hear him talking about the offensive line, you hear him talking about the running game. Yeah, maybe go to it a little bit earlier because it was working for you. Later in the game it was. I think it makes things easier on your tackle as well. Excuse me, on your quarterback as well. Let me tell you about the great people at Manscaped. Manscaped.com. Fellas, you want to look good everywhere, right? That's where the Platinum Package 4.0 enters the conversation. It includes their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. All comes with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks, so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. Plus, the ultra-premium body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, crop preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, and crop reviver ball spray toner. Anti-chafing boxers, not too bad. The Shed Travel Bag as well helps you hold all the goods you'll be using to take care of your goods with Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com right now for 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy at manscaped.com. Mojo! Have you downloaded the app? Are you having fun with the app? You having a good time? Available in New Jersey right now, the Mojo app. Jalen Hurts, check his stock, check his share price right now on the Mojo app. Each athlete's stock has a share price attached to it that rises and falls in real time. These players are your stock investments, and it's based on on-field performance, news, and anything else that might affect expectations. Prices move all year long, so there's no off-season. You know whose stock is down? Najee Harris. Holy pots and pans. What the hell happened to that guy? What a terrible offensive scheme they have out there in Pittsburgh. Come on, man. But download the Mojo app to your phone right now. They have over 300 skilled players in the NFL, including quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. You can invest in their stock and how well they're going to do. If there's a certain rookie out there you think is underrated, get them right now. Buy low, sell high, make that money. Mojo available in New Jersey on iOS, and just by downloading the app, you can have a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares of player stock. Click the link in the description and a chance to win up to $10,000 in your free shares of player stock. Must be 21 or older and present in New Jersey, physically located in New Jersey to trade on Mojo. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Kevin. Mally. Hello. Marquise, what's going on, Marquise? GM, great to see Philly 3-0. Against both Cardinals teams in the NFL and MLB. It was a bad weekend to be a Cardinals fan of any sort. Oh, wow. Marquise Graham. Wow, thanks to Arizona. The Arizona kicker pulled a Cody Parkey. What a name. Phillies and Eagles win. Mark has a dark button up. Interesting. I mean, it's still a blue button up. It's still blue, right? By the way, because I just like the color gray, maybe tomorrow I'll roll it out. I recently purchased a lighter gray because the dark gray, you guys hit me with the emo. Oh, it's emo Mark. I'm introducing a new gray shirt to the show. All right, maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow if you play your cards right. Plunging neckline, I would say not gratuitous. Not gratuitous. Mihai, what's up, Mihai? What's going on? Ring the bell, fly, Eagles, fly. Absolutely. Actually, the game ball would go to the backup kicker. There you go. Paul Keene, good morning. Jim Grassmeter, what's going on? Jeff, what's up, Jeff? Love this Eagles team, but are they overhyped? They gave up a ton of points to the Lions. They were down 14-0 against the Jags, and they barely beat the Cardinals. Are they really a 9-8 team? Jeff, I'm all for being real, but no, I don't think they're a 9-8 team. I think they're a 5-0 team, and I don't think that's overhype. I feel like I've spent most of the show critiquing the Eagles as opposed to praising them. Paul Keene, if we come out passing the ball, they'll destroy us defensively. We need to come out and just run it down their throats. Paul, I'm all for that. Jim Grassmeter, Micah Parsons is dreaming about bubble screens. He's going to destroy them right now. Yeah, he came back with a groin injury and got a sack. He's good. He's good at football. Jim Grassmeter, this just in. Gannon, cornerbacks are allowed to press wide receivers. I concur. By the way, this was an interesting question that came up on the postgame show yesterday. Would you rather face Cooper Rush or would you rather face Dak Prescott this week? Now, the first thing for me is Cooper Rush. Give me Cooper Rush. I know they're 4-0, but Cooper Rush. And the reason I don't say Cooper Rush and I say Dak Prescott is one reason alone. If Dak Prescott plays on Sunday night, I don't think he plays well because there's no way in my mind that his thumb will be good enough to play. I think if he plays, it'll be a rush back scenario where it's prime time on Sunday night and we're a 4-0 team under this other quarterback. Oh no, I'm going to get my ass out there. And if he does play and he can't grip that football, Oh, Hassan Reddick. Oh, baby. Come get it. Ring the bell. It's dinner time, baby. But the other side of that is that if they don't feel like he's 100% healthy, he's not going to play. Okay. Well, that's the logical way to look at it, but it's Jerry Jones making decisions here. So logic go out window. Lead story come in window. Should be interesting. Oh, yeah, Mihai saying the same thing. Dak Prescott, I'd rather face Dak because he's a little rusty. Cooper Rush has too much momentum. He certainly does. April, welcome back. April, hey, credit to April. Keep it up on the podcast. Has been in the chat. Got a little family thing going on there. A little family events going on. All right. She's been traveling. Mihai Sanchez, I'm only going to keep breathing harder throughout Red October and Midnight Green January. Those last two innings Saturday night in the fourth quarter yesterday took some years off my life. Yes, they absolutely did. A lot of people looking at Mullets in the chat. What's up, Mullet? Mihai, I think Dash Bridge had been momentum. Yep, gotcha. Okay. All right, let's get to the morning rush. Brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Eagles next face the Dallas Cowboys Sunday Night Football in South Philadelphia next week, and the Philadelphia Phillies take on the Atlanta Braves in the National League Divisional Series. First game tomorrow at 1:07 on Fox. How amazing, how awesome is that? For all the people that said, I don't want the Phillies to make the playoffs. Why would I want the Phillies to make the playoffs? You're just going to get embarrassed. This is why you make the playoffs. And as I told you guys throughout the last couple of weeks of the season, I just wanted playoff baseball. I wanted to see players in their turtlenecks and long sleeves, and it's not cold enough yet for the Elmer Fudd hats, whatever. But not only did they give us playoff baseball, they won playoff baseball. They have survived and advanced, and now they face the Braves, and they face the Braves in the playoffs. A playoffs, by the way, that no longer has the New York Mets, who got spanked by the San Diego Padres yesterday and got bounced out of the playoffs. So for the New York Mets, this final segment, this morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, this is for you. Oh man. Woo! Wow. Oh man, the Mets are gonna Met. Woof. Oh geez, just ladies and gentlemen, if you have a bad day for any reason today, I just want you to think to yourself, the Mets were in first place for like 170 days. They lost first place in the last second to the Braves, and then had to face the Padres, a wild card team, and they got bounced out in the first round of the playoffs. And then I want you to think to yourself, the Eagles are 5-0, and the Phillies are still in the playoffs. It's a good time. Nick Sirianni said in his Phillies t-shirt yesterday's press conference, it's a good time to be a Philadelphia fan. The Mets are going to Met. It's just, I think Eric Hartman said it best when he says, we'll drink your tears of unfathomable sadness. It tastes so good. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Sorry for the late start, everybody. Appreciate you. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow to talk all things Phillies and Eagles, of course. Jim Heidenproof's program did a wonderful job. Hey, if you like me, more me today on Fox 29. I'll be over there on Fox 29 in just a minute. Talk all things Eagles coming up at 7:45. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show, presented by my man Steven Singer. Jim Heinen did a great job. Buzz Sports Entertainment Production. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Go Birds, go Phils. Talk to you guys tomorrow. See you.